Hi, everybody. This is Stew Cutler. You are watching Musicians Reveal with Joe Kelley.
And welcome again to Musicians Reveal. I'm extremely excited right now because a longtime friend of our show, he's been on our program 3 or 4 times. In fact, he was one of the few guests we had on during the pandemic. And that
Oh,
was
that's
maybe
right.
about 5 years ago or so.
Yeah, that
And
sounds about
yeah,
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
tremendous blues, jazz, funk, gospel. He's a great guitarist and songwriter and singer. And he's got a brand new record called Undercover. Mostly Stew Cutler, welcome back to Musicians Reveal.
Thanks so much for having me, Joe. It's a pleasure to speak to you again. Thanks.
Yeah, and nice that you have a new record out with your cast of friends again. Uh,
Yeah.
when was the idea to put this together? Was it during the pandemic?
Well, actually, during the pandemic, I had the last one recorded. It was called Blues from Another Angle. And I sort of waited for things to calm down before I released that. Then, that's a couple of years ago now. And this recording is something a little different for me. It's a bit of a departure in that most of my recordings, I've written all the music, but I did a bunch of cover tunes on this one. So took a couple of years to sort of formulate the whole thing. And it was almost kind of thrown out to me as a challenge to try to do this. And why I picked the songs that I picked, I, I I wish I could tell you, but they just,
Just happened. Yeah.
yeah, it just happened, I guess. Yeah.
Do you work out a lot of these songs prior to recording them at your gigs, like Arthur's Tavern
Y-
and stuff like that?
yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. We've been playing a little bit at Arthur's, a lot. Excuse me a second. A lot at this place called Winnie's, and doing some traveling, mostly around the Northeast. It's a club in Pittsburgh we play at called Con Alma. A few other places. I'm sort of drifting off the subject, but uh, putting these arrangements together and then getting to play them live a lot before we recorded them. It wasn't like we had to rehearse to figure out what we wanted to do. Everybody kind of knew what was going on because we had fooled around with all these songs already.
Well, I give the thumbs up to Michael Jackson, The Way You Make Me Feel.
Yeah, a
Never
lot
heard
of
it quite like
people,
that, and it
a
sounds
lot of
great.
people like that one. Thank you very much. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
So Bobby Hardin, your buddy, was on our show a few weeks ago, and he had
Oh, okay.
alluded to Stu's got a new record out. You're gonna be really impressed by it. So,
Okay. Well, that's good
yeah,
to hear.
yeah, you've got so many musicians you work with over your career. I mean, your career spans 4 decades, and
Yeah.
is this the eighth album?
Eighth or ninth. I'm not one of these people that's got 30 albums out. I mean, I have eight or nine, but there's something else that was recorded up in Rochester many years ago that's supposed to come out. Remember years ago, I had this trio with Booker King and Gary Brewer,
Yeah, yeah.
and there was a live recording that it's supposed to come out, and then there's been a couple of compilations that some of my music has shown up on. So I'm sort of losing track a little bit, but maybe that's all right.
It's all right. Where do you want people to go pick up the new record, the tracks?
Well, I did the whole CD baby thing and just got through that process, which I gotta say is not getting any easier, but I was able to get through it. You know, the labels for people like me, there's not a lot of that left. The streaming has kind of crushed the indie and smaller labels. So look on my website, Google my name. I don't. I think there's an actual release date on this February 6th, I'm gonna say. So I'm not sure if everything is quite available yet, but I'm gonna keep things updated on my website, especially when I get the go ahead. I know Spotify and all that is gonna have it, but
That's where you're gonna make your big money.
oh yeah. I don't think people realize how terrible that pays. You've got to get like 10 hits to make a penny or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough.
It's it's insanity. So certainly getting the music online, you want people to be able to access it, but it's not, I mean, I remember years ago, a couple times with iTunes, I actually made a few dollars, which was good, but you can't do that now. I mean, I think if you get a million hits, what are you going to get, about $2,000 or something like that? Maybe.
Right, yeah, and all the hard work you put into making that music,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So it's not a viable thing to make money. You've got to play live.
yeah, and that's
And
something you've been doing, you haven't stopped.
no, I haven't stopped. And fortunately, I have a little bit of a circuit, and I have a couple spots in New York that I play. So, I stay with that. I go out and travel and do my little tours maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I'm able to keep somewhat busy in New York playing my own music. But I also, of course, work as a guitar player. So I do, recordings for people and other people's gigs. And both Bobby and I play in the house band at Arthur's Tavern. I don't do too many Sundays there anymore.
Okay.
I don't want to say it changed hands, but it's very reconfigured since the pandemic. So, and a lot of clubs have closed. Losing the 55 bar in New York was not good. Wasn't a good thing. So it is
Yeah,
what it is. We try to keep going forward, and like that.
I mean, you since you were a young kid, you were New York City. Were you born in New York City or Buffalo?
I was born in New York. I was
Okay.
born in Manhattan. I grew up in the Bronx. I got out of here. I'll spare you some of the gory details. I
Maybe
got
those are the
out of
good things.
here, maybe so, but a lot of
Right.
dysfunction and
Yeah, yeah, I hear you.
all that. I got out of here at a fairly young age, and that's kind of when my adult life and music life and personal life and all of that got going. So, maybe around the age of 18. And since then, I've lived in a few different places. I've done so much traveling in my life. Oh my God. I feel like I've been around the world twice. But I mean, there's still some places I haven't been to that I'd like to get to. But having said that, I've really traveled a lot. And I ended up coming back to New York in my late 20s, which is a while ago now, just because of music. It's not the place that I would have chosen to live. But, I raised my kids here and all of that. So it's been all right.
Speaking of the Buffalo days, were you affiliated with Spyro Gyra back then?
No, not
Okay.
really. No,
Oh,
that
okay.
I sort of knew who those guys were. It's funny at that time, out of Buffalo, Spyro Gyra and Rick James
Yeah.
both came out of Buffalo.
I had, Jay Beckenstein on, like,
Okay.
last year, and I mentioned I'm a huge Rick James fan too, and I
Yeah.
mentioned Rick James, and he's like, "Really? You're a fan of him?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not joking."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew some of the guys that played in the band,
Okay.
Rick's band, and I knew some of the guys that played in Spyro Gyra. And I know some history of Spyro Gyra that dates back to a guitar player named Rick Strauss,
Okay.
who is a Buffalo guy. that after they became successful, he ended up getting back in the band, but I think he had something to do with formulating the band in the first place. But I mean, that's their business, their history.
Yeah.
They can talk about that,
Yeah. They're going for like 51 years or so. So, yeah.
Gotta be for a while. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
When you came back to the Bronx or, the general New York area, I'm really curious. I mean, I spent time, I went a semester at NYU 82, but
hmm
that live music scene, can you let us know how vibrant it was?
Well, back then, there were a lot of gigs in New York. Uh, I was not in the thick of things in the studio world by any stretch, because, I had just moved back here and I didn't really have an in into that scene. But I played uptown a lot of gigs in the Harlem area. There was a strip that was just alive with clubs and music, and there was also a ton of stuff downtown in Greenwich Village and stuff like that. There were so many. The scene was really vibrant. It's certainly post-pandemic. It's kind of on a respirator right now. So I'm hoping as time goes on, there's some sort of comeback. I know there are some places that I'm not familiar with, but again, a place like the 55 Bar closing is not good. And I'm friends with the guy that did own it, and I know he's made mention of reopening someplace, but it's not my life to lead. You
Yeah, that's
know,
right. Yeah,
so
it's his
you
decision with the
know,
money too. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
what goes into that is there's a lot that goes into it, and it's I'm sure the finances are insane, and so
Yeah.
you
I
know.
I wouldn't want I wouldn't wanna run a club. Somebody's
Meanwhile,
yeah. Yeah.
the guy that chased him out of there wanted all his back rent from the pandemic,
Oh,
which of
wow.
course he couldn't come up with,
Yeah.
which is understandable. And that place has just been vacant now for like 2 or 3 years. Uh, so now the guy's getting nothing from the place. So I don't understand. Some of these business people, it's they go for the greed, and it blows up in their faces.
Yeah, we moved up to, we were used to live in Connecticut, last time I
Right, I
spoke with
remember
you.
that. Yeah.
We moved 3.5 years ago we now live up in Saratoga Springs, upstate New
Okay.
York, and when we
Okay.
first moved up here to rent something, it was right as the pandemic was coming to its end, and, you had to bid on a place. They gave you 24 hours to submit the highest bid just to
Oh my
get an
God.
apartment or a townhouse, yeah. So, yeah.
That's
So
insane.
yeah, definitely
There's
crazy.
there's a lot wrong right now with our country, but housing this, we could
Yeah.
switch the conversation from music to all of that
Yeah,
very
we can yeah.
easily. But we probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Well, we'd
Yeah.
probably get more viewers, but
Maybe.
not speaking about you or me, but it's just people love to talk
Yeah.
about stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah.
I was, I think when we were talking around the last time, you had a gig, really nice gig. You were gonna go cross the world with the Harlem Gospel Choir, I think?
But yeah, Harlem Gospel Singers.
Singers, okay.
There's a Harlem Gospel Choir and
Okay.
Harlem Gospel Singers.
Right.
I think the Harlem Gospel Choir are, I believe, a lot of ex-members of the Harlem Gospel Singers.
Alright.
Now, the Harlem Gospel Singers is a big tour in Europe, and that ended during the pandemic, but some version of it has been reconstituted. And I think there's something with that going on right now, but I think it's mostly Americans, but Americans that live overseas. So, I don't know what it is right now. I know that when I was doing it, it was a big tour. really worked hard to put a whole show together, and it was a great experience. Really
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned before, playing your music all these years, on radio, it's like, you can't categorize you as he's a blues guy, a jazz guy, he's got funky, he's just a great
Yeah.
musician. That's all I
Well, that's a good way to put it.
right.
Now, from a business perspective, people will ask you, especially when you do one of your own recordings, where in the record store, not that there are record stores anymore, are very few, where would this be? And for me, it's generally a couple of different places, which from a business perspective is not really ideal. However, it is what it is. You got to be who you are.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you a
Yeah.
quick story as far as, um, like the guests that I have on my show. If I contact a younger artist and they have a manager, they say, "Well, it seems like you have a lot of legacy artists on your show." So, it
What
means
is
like
what does that mean, a legacy
I
artist?
had to look it up. They say like a well-established artist who's been around and has made a lot of great music, and okay, that's a compliment, but it's like they don't want anything to do with, the younger artists are like, what's it gonna help me?" I guess that's what I took from
Oh,
her.
jeez.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Well,
yeah, we're all
I don't
dealing
know.
with
I don't know what to say about that.
right. So you could
Yeah.
put legacy artists in your bio.
Okay. I'll consider that.
Consider yeah, yeah, that's all right.
Okay.
Um, you mentioned traveling around the world, and one of the artists that I came across recently, when you played Montreux with David Sanborn, what was that like?
Well, I didn't play Montreux with David Sandberg. I played
Okay,
Montreux with a couple times with Sweet Georgia Brown. I did some of my own
okay,
things there. David Sanborn, I did some playing with him on Fontella Bass's recording a few years ago. Again, that's a gospel recording. It did get Grammy nominated, which is very nice. So that was my sort of interaction with David, and I am still friends with. He had a recording engineer that he worked closely with named Joe Furla, who's a great engineer, and I had the pleasure and opportunity of working with Joe on a bunch of different recording projects. So, I had my connections to David like that, but that's uh, that's my history with him, and I know he's not with us anymore, which
yeah,
is too bad.
yeah, yeah. I saw him in concert once at Fairfield U, and great show.
Sure.
Yeah, the whole band.
Yeah.
A guy who was ZZ Hill that
Oh,
you were only 19 when you started with him, right?
that's like 100 years ago, but
Uh-huh.
there's some funny stories with that. There's a drummer out of I was living in Buffalo at the time, and my friend Abdul, both of us were, I guess we were in our late teens. Neither of us had been on a plane before. I mean, all of this stuff. I mean, we were such babies, and there's some funny stories associated with that. But again, when you're that young, maybe you don't have the professionalism, and you don't sort of appreciate. At least I didn't. Neither of us did. So he would occasionally run out of gas on stage, and instead of keeping our composure and being professionals, we'd kind of lose it a little bit on stage. Not
Right,
proud of that, but you know,
right.
of the many funny things that happened on that one.
Yeah.
So,
B You play a lot of blues clubs in New York when they were there?
well, I don't know that New York has been such a blues specific place. There's a sort of a blues scene, but there are places that have kind of come and gone. Uh, yeah, I mean, Arthur's Tavern was a bit of a blues, blues and jazz place. I guess 55 was that to some degree. There have been some other spots along the way. These places come and go.
Yeah.
You know, uh, right now I'm doing some playing somewhat regular at a spot called Winnie's, which is in Midtown Manhattan, and I do a lot of my original music there. Generally with uh, the guys that are in my band, Bill McClellan, Chulo Gatewood, uh, Tom Wilson, or Etienne Lytle, uh, a few other people, and I get to play with Bobby Harden. We still do Fridays at Arthur's, and there's some other gigs that come up that I do alongside with Bobby, and sometimes I'm able to get him on my gigs when I, have enough of a budget to get the whole gang there. Uh,
What's the secret as a band leader working with, not a set cast of characters and coordinating?
well, you got to have, the way things are in New York. And again, maybe it's not what it was, but everyone is a musician on call with their own sort of career going on. So you've got to maybe you have the guys that you call first that are the most familiar with your stuff and you have your relationships and blah blah blah. But if somebody can't do a specific gig comes up and well, I'm already booked that night, so there better be another bass player or another drummer or another keyboard player or what have you that you're able to call that maybe is somewhat familiar with what you do because you've got to keep going. And so you need a bit of a roster on each instruments.
I want to recommend to our viewers and listeners that they should go to YouTube and just type in Stew Cutler Bop Shop Records. You've got, I think, 2 or 3 concerts up there with them, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a place we love playing at. And up in Rochester. And speaking of record stores, that's really a record store. I don't know if
Right.
have you ever been there?
No, no, I just saw it. I said, "Wow, they got a
It's
nice setup, a stage and everything." Yeah.
it's as a record store, it's unbelievable. It's like a museum. It's incredible. And Tom puts on concerts, and one of the places that we play when we're out and about, and just putting my name in YouTube in general, there's you know just Googling me or YouTube. I'm not in control of all this, but uh, fortunately and flatteringly, if that's a word, there's so much stuff on me out there. I mean, you know, it's great, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I wind up watching mostly YouTube and doing searches and, you get lost in it. So,
YouTube is fun. You can
yeah.
really get lost in it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, definitely type in Stew Cutler. We'll have his name up there, Stew Cutler, Cutler. And
Yes,
there's
sir.
lots of stuff up there. And the new record, Undercover, Mostly. Tell us about the mostly part.
Well, there's a couple of originals on there. I would have said it's completely undercover, but I've written a lot of music, and there's a couple I still wanted to get on there. There's almost like a rock instrumental called "Long Time Joe" that I put on there, and oh, a song by Bobby and I. Uh, it came out really good. At the end of the day, that's the title of the song, and actually, that one I played a little harmonica on, which I haven't done much on my own recordings, but I've done that with other people. I used to play a lot of harmonica at Arthur's way back in the day, and played some harmonica with the Harlem Gospel Singers, for instance, and a few other people. Not so much on my own stuff, but I did a little bit this time.
When you were a teen and gravitating towards playing the guitar, tell us how you did it to get into it, and who were you listening to guitar-wise and what kind of music?
Well, it's interesting. I don't know how deep I should get into this, but maybe I will take a deep dive here. My parents had a bad divorce. I was being shuffled between two different families. At that time, being early in my teens, kind of lost, started getting high, all this kind of stuff. And when I found the guitar became that was one world that was not chaos. I was in control of that universe. And I found myself practicing a lot right away. I took to it, started playing with people right away. Uh, I was listening to, like, I guess the rock bands of the day, but you'd hear people, uh, you'd see articles about them, and you'd hear about the people that they were listening to. So then you discover, you discover Mike Bloomfield, and you find out that Mike Bloomfield's listening to BB King, and then you discover all these other people. And also in New York at that time, I was friends with a lot of older people that were really serious about listening to music. So, drinking age back then was 18,
Yeah,
and
I remember
nobody
that, yeah.
nobody cared.
Yeah.
I was not a mature looking 16-year-old by any stretch. But you would go downtown, and it was not a lot of money. And I remember seeing George Benson. I'm sitting at a table. He's like, 5 feet away from me. In fact, it was me and Stewie Lerman. We went down there to see George Benson. We'd both been playing guitar about a year or two. So there's George Benson and Earl Klute. So that was kind of mind bending. And one thing that really turned me around uh, was seeing the Keith Jarrett Quartet, which I knew nothing about him. I had a friend who was an older brother, said, "Oh, you got to go downtown and see this piano player." So he says, "Oh, Ira, that was the older brother's name. Ira says we got to go see this guy." Again, you're like 16 years old. So you go to the Village Vanguard. And the band was Keith Jarrett, Dewey Redman, Paul Motion, and Charlie Hayden. And I'm still not over it. I mean, this is a concert I saw, I don't know how many years ago. My math is not that good, but God was in the room. And, I came out of there so blown away, and, wondering why, of the musicians that I'd heard of, and I don't want to pick on anybody. I won't say any names, but, some of the rock players at that time, how come I knew about them and I didn't know about Keith Jarrett? You
Right.
know, I'm being, shortchanged here. I don't know what's the right word, but that was mind bending. And later on in my life, when I did get to Buffalo, and I didn't want to come back to New York City. I started playing with a guitar player named James Clark, and it turned out that James was, best friends and came up playing guitar with George Benson, and he was unbelievable. We're still in touch. Definitely consider him a mentor. And he did what George was doing still at that time, because this is really only a couple of years after that I had seen George play. So instead of using a keyboard player, he used a second guitar player for his local gigs around Buffalo. But as a young guitar player, to be playing with somebody with that kind of knowledge of the instrument, I mean, I say I really didn't take lessons, but I mean,
You were, yeah,
you
16 years
can't
old,
do
yeah.
you can't do better than that. I think I was about 18. Around the time I was playing with ZZ Hill, maybe 19, 20, those years, late teens, early 20s. Uh, and I was a sponge. I think at that point, I must have been practicing anywhere from 7 to 10 hours a day, just trying to absorb everything. And uh, it was a great period in my life of learning and yeah. And so,
So you went to all these shows as, a teenager, and were they playing those artists like Keith Jarrett or anybody on radio? How did you find out?
again, it was just from like older people. I mean, one thing I went to see Mingus. My older brother had a book, a Mingus book called Beneath the Underdog, which I tried to read. I can't tell you I understood it completely, but I went to see him and I knew who he was and I saw the band and I actually end up remember speaking to him a little bit, like a not any, enlightening conversation or anything like that. But it was a time where you could see Mingus or Art Blakey or a lot of these people that are historic figures. Mingus had a big impression on me in terms of writing music also. When you go back and listen to some of his compositions, some of they're jazz, but some of them are instrumental blues. There's a lot of those tunes are blues tunes, you know. So he was amazing to see. I remember seeing Blakey, so many people. I mean, it was just the way New York was at that time.
Were you too young to
Uh,
see, Miles Davis?
yeah, I didn't get a chance to see Miles. Actually became friendly for a time with one of his sons, Greg, great guy. And he played, he had one of his dad's trumpets and he played, he wasn't a fluid player in terms of playing standards and all that like his dad, but kind of had a little thing. But I think he got into being, like a counselor,
Oh, okay.
psychologist, counselor, something like that,
Right.
you know.
Another, thing I wanted to touch on, and I didn't know this till recently that you recorded a little bit with, Meatloaf up in Connecticut, right?
Well, I didn't record with
Oh,
him.
okay.
This is a funny story. At this time, um, I was playing in a band, was playing with a lot of people at that time, Harvey Brooks, Lester Chambers. There was a guy named Corky Lang that used to be in a group called Mountain.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
uh, I'll just leave it at
Okay.
that. However, he somehow got this gig in Westport, Connecticut, and somehow convinced Meatloaf to do it. And Meatloaf was missing a few band members. So I had to come up, rehearse with Meatloaf, learn some of the tunes. Um, and it was fun. His band was really good. The music was interesting. It was rock, but it was, all the songs went on and had all these forms and stuff like this. And I wouldn't have mind trying to really stay in the band. I remember talking to the bass player, and this is funny because he goes, "Yeah, I mean, you did really good, but you're a little bit of a jazzer, aren't you?" Like,
Uh-oh.
so my my push to get in the band didn't go too far. Um, but and that kind of thing, you just got to end up being yourself anyway. So, and I have some funny stories about that. Well, this pops into my head. I had an audition with a singer-songwriter. Her name was Lisa Loeb. You ever hear
Oh,
of
yeah,
Lisa
yeah.
Loeb?
Had the glasses. Yeah, she was
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. And this is many years ago. And I guess it came down to me and somebody else. And I remember going down to these auditions, and maybe I had been stung by this guy telling me I was a bit of a jazzer. So I was telling, don't play jazz guitar with her, play pop guitar. And they decided to go with the other guy because he had a little bit of a jazz background. And, and they thought, and they thought
Wow.
that that would be helpful. So, if any younger musicians are seeing this, when you go to an audition, be yourself because
Yeah.
they're going to figure out who you are anyway.
Wow.
And it's funny on the Harlem, I had to audition for the Harlem Gospel Singers, and they auditioned something like 110 guitar players. And miraculously, I ended up getting that gig. And my attitude on that audition was, "This is me. Here I am."
Take it or leave it.
And
Yeah.
at least in that situation, it worked. So.
I didn't realize the audition process was it sounds like it's almost competitive as acting jobs in Hollywood like
Well,
that.
it
Yeah.
it it is it
Yeah.
is very much so like that, and I don't understand. Maybe they're looking for some sort of connection or something to happen during the audition, which I felt did happen with me with the Harlem Gospel Singers audition. But there are so many people still. Maybe New York isn't quite what it was. There's so many people that can really play down here. I start naming guitar players down here that I think are just absolutely great. Uh, some you may have heard of, some you probably haven't have heard of. And I won't name names because I'll leave somebody out
Yeah.
and somebody else's feelings will get hurt. But
Yeah.
I don't know how you choose somebody out of all those people and you decide to go in such and such a direction.
What was
You
your
know,
favorite do you have a favorite, studio in New York City that you've recorded in?
oh, not really. Some of these places you end up going to so often that becomes a bit of a comfort zone. There's a power station. I've been there a lot. Stuart Lerman's studio out in Hoboken Sound. That's very comfortable. I mean, a lot of places. It's kind of it becomes a blur. There used to be a place on 12th Street. I recorded with Robin Holcomb there. Few people there. I don't think it's there anymore. I can't remember the name of the place. But some of these places, some of them stick around and have history, and some of them come and go.
Yeah.
You know.
I think the last time we spoke, you were either wrapping up or getting into another recording with, the TV show Miss Maisel.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that was really just a blessing how that gig came around during the pandemic. It was a very strange time to live through, but that kept me busy, and I had some solo guitar gigs, and I was one of the few people that there were and that I know of that was actually busy doing stuff. They were filming us. We were recording a lot. I think we did a lot of that at Power Station. And then they would do some live recordings of the band out in Brooklyn at Steiner Studios. It's funny doing that. You see how, and I had done a little bit of this before, but you see how TV shows and movies and all that are put together. Sort of takes a little bit of the magic out of it.
Yeah.
You know, uh, One thing that I did see on this show, the leading lady, I wish I could remember her name, Rachel.
Yeah.
people would come out and, they'd do their bit and maybe they'd have them redo it a few times, go from this angle, can you do this? They would make her do it like, wow. Every scene she had, they made her do it like 25 times
Whoa.
to the point where she couldn't remember her lines and she would get flustered. Now, if it was me, I'm not an actor.
Right.
I'd be like, look, I'm going to keep my language clean here for the radio, for your podcast. But, at the end of that, I mean, I think she was almost near tears a couple of times and she would get done and she would thank them, which I thought I was impressed by that,
Yeah.
have that kind of patience and
Yeah,
that kind of
I've seen some
humility.
interviews with her. She seems a really nice person.
Yeah, she must have a lot of humility. And
Right. Rachel
yeah,
Brosnahan.
that's her
Yeah.
name.
I
Very good.
cheated. I looked on a while you were talking.
Well, don't rely on my memory. I try to remember a song title sometimes. I got to sing the whole song in my head
Yeah, right.
to get to where the title is. Where I,
You brought when you were talking about filming for Miss Maisel, this I used to have bands come into WVOF and record on the radio show, and there was a band who came in, a guy, a reggae artist, and he wanted to do 6 takes on one song. So the 6th take,
okay.
the keyboardist, I see her walking, she's like, "You can do another take. I'm going to my car. That's it." So
She had
yeah.
enough.
So I don't know if there were keyboards on the last take or what, but it was like I could see. I mean, in my head, I'm like, "Yeah, come on, let's wrap this up." But I try to be nice.
If you're with I don't know, think of some big artist, Paul McCartney, and he wants to do 6, 8 takes.
Yeah.
You do 6, 8
Yeah.
takes. You
Right.
do what
Right.
he says. Other people, I mean, depending upon what it is, I think sometimes there can be like a diminishing return. Like you do the song 2 or 3 times, in the studio, like with this last record, we did every song a couple of times. And, after 2 or 3 times, you pick one, that you like. But, everybody's different. Uh, I've had some odd experiences recording with some people that what they were looking for and what they wanted after a while, it was just beyond me. So you want to do it again? You want me to keep playing this? I mean, all right, you're paying me for my time. I'll do it.
Right.
Uh, what they're looking for after a while,
Yeah.
it's beyond me.
Right. Yeah. All different scenarios, right? You're all
Yeah.
artists, so it's all creativity. So
Yeah, if e- e- especially when you're being hired and somebody has something in their head, and some people are very good at conveying what they want, like a really good producer. The best producers can uh, explain in a way that you will understand. They can put it into words where it hits home to you, and that's the brilliance of some producers. And then some people are like, it sounds triangular here, and I really need it to be more purple,
right.
and it's
Oh, can you phrase
you
it a
need to
different way?
be getting paid on those kind of
Yeah, that's
sessions,
right, and well paid. Well, I hope that
Yes.
Westport gig paid well because I grew up in the town Fairfield right next to it, and I worked in Westport a couple jobs, and there's a lot of money in that town.
Yeah, it didn't pay too well for me. I think I was pretty young and pretty inexperienced. I got taken advantage of a little bit, but
Yeah.
you live and learn.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't. I've heard. You know what? I don't want to talk bad about anybody on the radio. So
Right. Yeah.
I was told that Meatloaf didn't do too well on that one either, but
Okay. Yeah.
somebody did. But
Yeah.
his name will remain
Yeah.
we're not gonna discuss him
In the
anymore.
Stew Cutler vault. Yep.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so, hey, Stu, I gotta thank you for, stopping by this. I don't know, I lost count. Maybe this is the 4th time you've come by the show or
You
so.
know, I want to say, Joe, that you know, however we met many years ago, but uh, people like you are precious to people like me because you're supportive and you showcase us to a wider audience, and it's a big help. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate uh, speaking with you, and I have a lot of respect for you that you've stuck with this and done this. And I really want to thank you for having me
Yeah.
on.
Thanks, Stu. You know, the feeling's, mutual, and,
Thank
we
you.
we wanna encourage our viewers, listeners, just go to the major formats, type in your favorite format, Undercover, mostly Stew Cutler and Friends, and,
Yeah.
you know, we gotta make it an annual thing, you coming by.
All right. I would love that. You got no idea how many stories I got. I mean, I
Yeah,
said some of them here,
right.
but boy,
I'm all
one
into hearing those
story,
stories, yeah.
one story leads to the next. I could
Yeah.
just keep going.
I mean, it's great
But
you lived and you've performed through all that stuff, that's incredible.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's been a miraculous ride.
right,
Bumpy at times, but
right.
I wouldn't trade it.
And we wanna remind, our listeners, viewers that, Stu Cutler, the new music, Undercover mostly, all the tracks playing on our Musicians Reveal Radio on Live 365, so you'll be hearing in the mix, the new record, so and we love
Thank
the
you,
record,
Joe.
yeah, yeah. So
Thank you. Thank you so
thank you,
much.
Stu.